The sterile hum of the hospital had become second nature to Dr. Ryan Carter. For 5 years, he had faithfully checked room 407, even when hope seemed like a distant whisper. Inside that room, untouched by the chaos of life beyond its door, lay Evelyn Hartley, once a vibrant, brilliant businesswoman, a young millionaire whose life had been paused by a tragic car accident. Ryan wasn't the lead neurologist or the hospital's top surgeon. He was just a third-year resident when Evelyn was wheeled in, her face bloodied, body broken, and brain activity weak but flickering. Most doctors wrote her off as a long-term case with little chance of recovery. But Ryan didn't. Something in her stillness called to him. Maybe it was the softness in her features, the peaceful way her fingers always curled near her face, or the way her family photos, framed and placed by nurses, spoke of a woman full of joy and laughter. So, every day before or after his shift, he made time for her. He talked to her about his day, about the weather, about books and music. He played her favorite classical pieces, read excerpts from her favorite authors, and told her the hospital gossip just to fill the silence. Over time, his voice became a constant in that quiet room. What no one knew was that Evelyn, in the depth of her coma, felt something. Not in words or images, but in emotions, waves of warmth, comfort, and a strange connection she couldn't place. Her body was still, her eyes closed, but something in her soul stirred when he was near. Then, after 1,826 days, 5 years to the date since her accident, it happened. Ryan had just finished reading her a poem by Rainer Maria Rilke when he saw her fingers twitch. At first, he thought it was a reflex, something meaningless. But then her eyelids fluttered. He froze, heart pounding. "Evelyn," he whispered, afraid even to blink. Her eyes opened slowly, unfocused, confused, but undeniably awake. The hospital exploded into motion. Tests, specialists, news crews, everyone wanted to witness the miracle. But through it all, Evelyn only seemed calm when Ryan was near. She couldn't speak much at first, her body weak from years of stillness. But she watched him, followed him with her eyes, and tried, oh, how she tried, to smile whenever he entered the room. Recovery was slow, muscles had atrophied, and she had to relearn the most basic functions, talking, sitting, walking. But her mind was intact. Her memories were foggy, fragmented, but her sharp intellect returned faster than anyone expected. And Ryan was always there, encouraging her, laughing with her, crying with her when she first stood on her own. One rainy evening, as she sat by the window in her hospital room, looking out at the storm, Evelyn turned to him. "Why?" she asked, voice raspy but curious. "Why did you stay?" Ryan hesitated. He looked at her, truly looked at her. Not as a patient, but as a woman he had come to admire deeply. "Because I believed you weren't gone. I don't know how I knew, but I just felt it. And the thought of you waking up alone scared me." Tears welled up in her eyes. She didn't say anything, just reached out and touched his hand. That single touch was more intimate than any word could have been. Over the months, their bond deepened. Evelyn's wealth and past fame returned to the spotlight once she regained her strength. Her face was back on magazine covers, her story featured in documentaries. But she hated the attention. Fame felt empty. The world she'd once ruled as a young tech mogul now seemed distant and cold. Only Ryan felt real. He never treated her differently. Whether she was in pajamas, struggling to take a step, or sitting confidently at a press conference, his eyes saw her, not the coma survivor, not the millionaire, but Evelyn. The woman. They spent late nights in quiet corners of the hospital talking about life. He told her about losing his mother at a young age, about why he became a doctor, about how he used to write music before med school consumed his soul. She told him about building her company from her college dorm room, about the betrayal that had led her to take that fateful drive the night of her accident. She opened up to him like she never had to anyone before. Their connection was undeniable, but love, especially born in the confines of a hospital, is never easy. Rumors started, nurses whispered, journalists speculated, hospital management raised concerns, and Evelyn, who had just begun to breathe freely again, didn't want to feel caged by public perception. So, one day, she disappeared. She left a handwritten note for Ryan. "You gave me back my life. Now I have to find out who I am in this new world. But know this, wherever I go, you are part of me. Thank you for believing in a woman who couldn't even open her eyes." Ryan was devastated but understood. Evelyn had spent years asleep. She deserved the freedom to rediscover herself. Months passed. He tried to focus on work, even began composing music again. But something was missing. Her absence was like a quiet ache, a dull throb he carried every day. Then, one chilly morning, while walking into the hospital's garden courtyard, he saw her. She was sitting on a bench, wrapped in a deep green coat, her hair swept by the wind. She turned as he approached, and her smile, radiant, knowing, beautiful, was everything he remembered. I traveled, she said simply. Italy, Japan, the mountains in Peru. I met shamans, monks, and strangers who taught me more about life than I learned in boardrooms. He couldn't speak, just listened. But through it all, she continued, eyes locking with his, you were the one constant in my mind. You saved me, Ryan. Not just with medicine, but with your heart. And I realized, I didn't want to live this new life without you. Tears burned his eyes. She stood, reached for his hand, and placed something in it. A key, to my new house. It has a piano, she said with a grin. I figured you might like that. They stood there, the winter air swirling around them, two souls finally aligned. There were no promises, no declarations, just presence. Just love. From then on, their story was not one of tragedy or miracle. It became a story of rebirth, of two people who found each other in the unlikeliest of places. A comatose millionaire and a young doctor who believed in something no one else did. Their love was not forged in fantasy, but in patience, vulnerability, and the quiet power of human connection. Evelyn eventually stepped back from her business empire. She started a foundation for neurological research and recovery programs. Ryan joined her, balancing medicine with outreach work, helping other patients and doctors believe in possibilities beyond prognosis. Together, they traveled, played music, told stories, and sometimes just sat in silence, knowing that the greatest love stories are not always born of fireworks, but of quiet resilience, deep trust, and the courage to wait for a miracle that no one else can see.